Another day, another update. We're going back to back now with the helpful content up announced literally a few hours ago. And this is just after the August 2023 core update. There's a couple of big changes with the helpful content update. I'm going to talk about that today. This is going to be rolling out for the next couple of weeks. So if you see certain volatility and you see your rankings go up and down, it's pretty normal. And today I'm going to run you through the guidelines, what the update means, how it can affect your site, plus ways you can get around that and fix your site if you do get hit by this update. The last helpful content update was on the 5th of December 2022, as you can see right here. That one actually lasted 38 days, which is pretty crazy. So let's talk about what it means. So you can see all the guidelines for the update right here. And it's basically designed to help ensure people see original helpful content created for people in search results. So it's about the experience when people land on the page. So for example, if you compare this to the core update is like a holistic overview of the website, the technical aspects, the core web vitals, the backlinks, pretty much everything. This one is more about your actual content and the user experience when people land on the page and the quality of that content, plus the originality of it as well. So basically, is your content helpful or not? If people land on the page and it's just full of fluff, copied and pasted from ChatGPT, probably not that helpful, and therefore people are not going to stay on the page long, and therefore that's going to provide a bad user experience, which means that you may get hit by this update. But it's very early days and you can't do anything drastic. And if your content is actually helpful, it's probably going to get a boost. So that's the good news. Now, a lot of people ask me, okay, what's the best way to stay updated when it comes to announcements like this? Twitter is really good. Barry Schwartz is always on it. He always seems to be the first person to reply. It's fair play to him. He's got a YouTube channel as well. Probably most of you know him already. Now, let's talk about what's changed. What's different versus last year? One of the biggest differences before and after this helpful content update is that previously Google search's guidelines on helpful content updates used to say helpful content written by people for people in search results. Now, obviously, we all know the game has changed a little bit with SEO and content creation this year, with ChatGPT, with AI, with so many people creating so much content at scale. And now you can see the guidelines have actually changed so that it says Google Search's helpful content system is designed to better ensure people see original, helpful content created for people. Notice how by people has been removed, which is pretty crazy. Very interesting. To me, that signals that AI content is actually more accepted now. And let's be honest, I mean, if you haven't seen this case study already by authority hackers, it's very, very interesting. But basically, they say that 85% of marketers are already using AI for article writing, which is absolutely insane. On top of that, in terms of their survey, 69% of marketers are using ChatGPT, and 65% of people, basically the majority of people, think AI content is equal to or better than human writers. It makes sense why Google would update their guidelines on how to create content and signal very subtly that AI content is more accepted because most people are using it and most people think it's better than human written content. I've compared other examples on my channel before, and if you look at other case studies, a lot of experts think that 99 to 99.9% of content on the internet will be AI generated by 2025. So it's absolutely crazy. So these changes in the helpful content guidelines make total sense. AI content does rank, and sometimes it is more helpful content than human written, but it depends how you create it, right? It's all down to your process and your workflows and your prompts, etc. Another account that I'd recommend checking out for updates on this is Mary Haynes. She created this in-depth analysis about what's changed in Google's helpful content documentation. And another change is that previously the guidelines said, is this content written by an expert? Now it says, is this content written or reviewed by an expert? So not necessarily written by an expert, but it can be reviewed by an expert, and therefore it becomes more helpful content. And on top of that, this is a little cheeky trick I know a lot of SEOs use where they just hit update on the published date of their content, and then that ranks better and seems fresher to Google's algorithm when it gets reindexed, plus seems fresher to people when they land on the page. But obviously the content hasn't really changed, hasn't become more helpful, etc. And basically Google is saying, if you're trying to make your content look fresh and it's not fresh, don't do that. Makes sense. Now, the final thing that they've talked about is subdomains. So if you create irrelevant content on a subdomain, this is my interpretation, I might be totally wrong. But if you've created content on a subdomain and it's not relevant to the topics on your main domain, aka largely independent of the main site's purpose or produced without close supervision or involvement of the primary site, then it should be blocked from being indexed by Google. So that's an interesting one as well. I don't know many people using subdomains, and I don't know many subdomains ranking these days. unless you're like on Shopify and you don't know how to integrate your blog with your e-commerce pages. But that's basically it. They're the three main changes. So Mary Haynes would recommend checking out that Twitter channel. I think she has a YouTube channel too. And let's talk about SERP volatility. So if we look at SEMrush's free sensor here, we can see that the SERP volatility is not quite as high as it was during the core update. So during the core update, it was a 9.3 on the old SEMrush SEO scale. Now it's down to 8, still very volatile, still quite high. So if your rankings dip or your traffic changes, etc., you know why. There's been back-to-back updates, the Google Core update, the Google Helpful Content update. Now you might be wondering as well, how do you figure out what is helpful content? Well, basically, Google have a checklist right here, which you can see they talk about content and quality questions, expertise questions. So is your content written by an expert essentially or reviewed by an expert? Does it provide a great page experience? And is the content focused on people, not just ranking for SEO? AKA, is the user experience good? So if you're just trying to manipulate Google's algorithm and not provide a useful experience for people reading the content, then avoid that and focus on people first instead. Simple. So how can you use this? Well, first of all, you could use it as a checklist and then rate all your content. The other way you can try and figure out, okay, am I optimized for helpful content updates or not? Is if you take all the guidelines from Google like so, we can plug them into advanced data analysis on ChatGPT. And you can say, summarize these guidelines into 5 criteria scores that I can use to grade my content. Then you can just take an example piece of content, for example, like this one, and then paste it into ChatGPT and say, now grade this content based on that criteria. And it will give you actionable ways to improve your content, plus talk about what you've done right and wrong in your content. And finally, you'll get a grading score for each part, right? So for example, content quality and originality is quite high, but expertise and trustworthiness is not so high. And then you can see exactly what you need to improve. And then you can say, right, I've scored poorly for transparency and authenticity, and therefore I'm going to take it from 5 out of 10 to 10 out of 10. I know exactly how to do it because I've got the bullet points there, and we're ready to go. And then you can easily go onto your keywords, sort by changes, find the pages that have taken the biggest hit in traffic in terms of pre versus post update. And from here, you can easily figure out, okay, these are the keywords that need improving. Therefore, I'm going to run them through the content grading criteria, improve the content, re-index it, and see how it performs. Now, just in terms of expectations, it might take months to get your rankings back because this is a big update and it's holistic across all your pages. But you can only stack the probabilities in your favor. And if you're playing the long-term game with SEO, then you know these things can't be fixed overnight. So what to do next? First of all, it's going to last about 2 weeks according to Google. If you get hit, wait for it to roll out before you make any drastic changes. And like I've mentioned, it can take months to recover, so be aware of that. And you can also grade and improve your content based on the helpful content guidelines from Google and score it and quantitatively make it more helpful content. However, prioritize the pages that do take a hit. So you don't have to do like all 300 or 1,000 pages on your website. Just look at the keywords that have taken a hit using Ahrefs like we've talked about previously. And I would also recommend checking out my content SEO checklist in my free course, along with the prompts to grade your content using the helpful content guidelines. I'll include that in my free course too. Links in the comments. And that's pretty much it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see how that plays out. I'll give you an update later in terms of my rankings and what's changed, etc. after this update. And if you do want to talk about how to get more leads, traffic, and sales from Google with SEO, then feel free to book in a call. I'll leave a link in the comments and we can talk you through your SEO domination plan, how to get more backlinks, answer any questions you have. Either way, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.